All right, how's everybody doing? Thanks for joining this YouTube video. We got a special guest today with Bob Magnuson, and he's from New York. We met through one of my videos. He's a musician from New York City, and we've thought that we would do this video and kind of share with you about meditation and music. And we actually did some recordings together that we're going to share with you. The kind of we before we meditated and after we meditated, to kind of share with you our opinions of what the differences are there. So, without further ado, we got Bob Magnuson. Round of applause, please.
Oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, thanks for
Thank you.
coming on, Bob. So,
Sure.
well, let me see here. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself, where you're from, how you got found meditation. I want to hear a little bit about your music background as well, too. So if you could share that with
Sure.
us.
I'll give you a brief synopsis of it all. I'm 67 years old. I've been playing since I'm a kid, and I had a great experience of living right outside the Lincoln Tunnel in New Jersey. So New York was right next door. I grew up looking at the Empire State Building along the Hudson River every day, and so I was always drawn to New York. But the most fortunate thing I had was my grammar school teacher was a professional trumpet player on the Merv Griffin show. So when I started playing on the clarinet like everybody does. But in a couple of months, the clarinet cracked. It hadn't been played in years. So he said, you should play the oboe. So he said, there's no oboe players. There's always one oboe and you get solos. So I said, okay, I'll play the oboe. So he gives me an oboe. But the problem with the oboe is reeds. You always have to make reeds. So he would bring me to New York to the Merv Griffin show, and there'd be a saxophone player who was a doubler there, and he would let me practice. He'd show me, I'd show him my music, the band music, and he'd give me reads. So I was like, wow, look at this. This was really, opening my eyes to show business and just the excitement. My father was a roofer and a fireman. He loved music, but that was a thing that brought me to it. But to cut to the chase, I had a lot of good things happen to me. And then when I was in high school, I became a jazz saxophone player, and I won first place in the all-state jazz band. I got a trophy for playing a solo. And then they interviewed me, and this is important. They interviewed me and they said, how does it feel? You got a trophy for playing a solo. And I was 16. And back then it didn't really make sense. But I said, I don't know about the trophy, but I only play music because it makes me feel spiritual. And it's in
Oh,
writing in and 16. And it's funny to see that because now all these years later, it's exactly the same experience. It's
right. Yeah.
not necessarily even more than, because the 16-year-old mind was so absorbed in it with no distractions of responsibilities and money, and it just was like I was in that space of music every second, just like you were growing up playing the guitar. This is great enough to deal, just clean your room at
Yeah.
least, or your mother will get mad, you know
Yeah.
but to stay in that space has always been what I've enjoyed. And I studied with many teachers who were into metaphysical things and shared that energy long ago. And then I got into the professional music business of doing television commercials, traveling with artists, working for, name artists and things, not in their band, but doing records. You're called a session musician, So I
Yeah.
met a lot of interesting people, and I'm
And you're
glad to have
doing this all in New York City.
all in New York City. And then I could see the
Okay.
changing of the times. The writing was on the wall. The DX7 came in, and all of a sudden there were less players on sessions. And I said, uh-oh, I want to keep this going into my old age. I want to keep doing music and be creative. So I started doing online recording. And I
Uh,
started this with my nephew, who was a computer freak, and we started dial up. He played the drums, I played the saxophone. For 30 seconds, it would take 4 or 5 hours to send it back. And we said, oh my God, I hear it. And it was
yeah.
exciting. And I said, this is
Yeah.
the future. But again, you
Yeah.
talk about this thing of energy, exchanging energy. That's what it's really become now. I
Right.
have worldwide clients. I've been doing it for 22 years. I have no competition at all, and I just meet people.
Nice.
I meet people, and they come to me, and it's like we just play. So this exchanging of energy, I've been really prepared for, and then I've come into the Joe Dispenza work. So I've been kind of groomed for it in a lot of ways. I've never had a job. I've always dealt on a faith of just being a musician, to be like, the phone's got to ring. My father was a roofer. He waited for the phone to ring. I learned
Yeah.
that. Be ready, be prepared, practice, all those things. So now you have to be present. You can't always play all the instruments. So you got to draw on an energy. Like, if you called me and said, Bob, play the flute for me on a recording. Can you do it in an hour? I haven't played the flute in 3 weeks. But I'm going
Yeah.
to sound real good if I play for you, because I'm going to get real quiet and find the spot. and stop all the baloney, and boom, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go
Yeah.
on stage at Carnegie Hall, but I'm going to do it in
Yeah.
my room here and do it for you, and it's going to be beautiful. But again,
Right.
entering that space, so I'm used to certain mind disciplines of using familiar energies, and then getting to hear you speak and all your techniques, and you're young in it as well, but you're certainly advanced and ahead of me. So it, and then when I watched your video and you said something about being a musician, and it hooked me, I said right away. And then I felt the like-minded energy with you, and then
Yeah.
here we meet. Like
Yeah.
like I've said in
Yeah,
other situations.
Bob and I connected through one of my videos, my meditation videos. He watched and he reached out to me on Facebook or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
And so he said, "Man, I'm a musician. You got to call me." And so
yeah,
I sent him my number or something. We started talking. We talked for a couple hours, and
yeah,
yeah. So Bob comes from New York, and I'm from South Carolina, two
yeah,
totally different parts of America, and
yeah.
two totally different, not totally different styles of music. But I mean, you're
Yeah,
more of a jazz guy. I'm
yes, yes,
probably more rooted in a blues type of
absolutely,
fashion.
absolutely,
But
absolutely.
that's where you grew up, and that's where they have all those styles, and
Yeah,
this is where I grew up, and that's where they have all these styles. So
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, that's cool. That's interesting.
But
How
what I liked about
yeah,
us, and this is to bring it for your viewers, what's more important, not as us as musicians, about it's more about the energy of how I met you. Like usually you meet another musician, you exchange a card, or you look at
right,
his stuff on, or you listen to a record, he sends you stuff, or give me your resume. Who did you play with? It's like all this matter to matter. Who
right,
are
yeah,
you? Who is he? As if
yeah,
where do you rank in the totem pole? I mean, we just do that normally. It's just like
yeah,
what you do. Whereas meeting you, I just heard you say musician, then I checked you out, and then all this other stuff started exploding in me, where I was having an experience rather than just gathering information on your abilities. All
right,
of a
like a
sudden, I said,
resume or
"Whoa,
something.
whoa!" Like, wait, meditation. He does music. Oh my god! So now the like-mindedness, and I will say, the when I knew I was going to speak with you, I said, has to happen." In my mind, I clearly knew it was going to be exactly as I spoke to you, just like I'm speaking to you now. We don't know
Oh
each
yeah,
other that well. This is like maybe
no,
the second time kind of that we're really speaking directly. But
right,
like
yeah,
I knew instantly I would be as to be familiar. My language as a jazz musician, my vocabulary just being whatever the slang is, you would be comfortable. I wouldn't offend you, just saying this cat and this blah blah blah, etc.
right.
etc.
You
I said I
we could
knew
talk.
that the vibe would be cool, and you got my references to certain musicians. You immediately were like, yeah, this one,
Yeah,
that one, this one. We don't have to get into the names because that's not important. But we both
right,
had a texture, a background of like, wow, we're in the same place.
right. Yeah, yeah,
and
exactly. We come.
and that's where the energy of all this brings people together, and it's
Absolutely, and
like-minded.
that's yes,
And
absolutely.
that's what made us do our experiment too. So
Yeah,
Greg was
exactly.
so
Well,
great because Greg said, let's do something, and now you challenged me in a way that took me right out of my comfort zone, which was he says, okay, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make a bass line and a track, and I'm going to blow a couple of solo, and then you do it before you met. And I'm like, oh gosh, okay. Now usually somebody sends me something, I'm going to sit here and conjure. Okay, here I go. But you were disarming all of those things in me. You were saying, no, 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 no. Just go ahead, do one, and now meditate, and now let go, let go, let go. And that was really challenging because
yeah,
everybody has a bag of tricks. They can have slick things, go for the money note, go for the high note, do things, that
right,
you do to have to sit to impress from an egoic posture. But if
exactly.
you meditate, you're just waiting for something to draw it out of you. And yet in this experiment we did, we're very safe. So
Right. Well,
it was really great.
what we did was Bob and I we did a recording just of a simple blues track that we both took solos on this first track and we haven't meditated, and then we both went and meditated and did a meditation and came back and then we took another solo, and so we heard the differences and we saw the differences in ourselves, and we're going
Yeah.
to share that with you here in a little bit. That's what he's
Yeah.
talking about when
Yes.
he's talking about the recording. I just threw him into the session. I was kind of like I really just I sent it to you, kind of saying, Bob, just don't think about it. Just
Right,
do it. Just
right,
hit record. I never
right,
heard Bob play, and you
right.
never really heard me play.
Just a couple of things on YouTube, that was
Right, but
great,
I mean,
but
we
enjoy.
just went with it. We
Right.
both knew we could do
Yes,
it, so
exactly.
so we just did it.
Yep.
Music's kind of
Yep.
like a language. Once you learn the language, you can. If we both know English, you can go meet somebody at the grocery store that
Absolutely.
knows English and start talking to them. And
Absolutely.
so anyway, now that was a little bit about your music career and all that. How did you find meditation? You recognized it when you were with music. When you were 16, you said it makes you feel spiritual.
Yeah,
How
yeah.
when did you find meditation, and how did you find it?
All right. Well, it wasn't that I found meditation exactly. It's just that when I got into music, I got into the recording business, and there was a lot of pressure and a lot of money going down. Like if you do a
Sure.
television commercial, you're there for an hour, and again, you draw on this energy. You walk into a session. Sometimes it's very easy to play, and you're like, okay, this is great. You get 10 of
Right.
those, and hey, this is great. This is great. And then all of a sudden
Yeah.
you walk in, he's like, I cannot play this, and
Yes,
you have to
I know
play
the
it.
feeling.
You have
Yeah.
to play it. You have to
Right
figure
now.
something.
Now.
So your energy goes zoom and bang. You figure out a way to get through it. Whether it's
And you got
adrenaline,
10
this,
people
that,
with money looking at you like
yeah,
this, going,
yeah,
"What are you
yeah,
doing?"
yeah. So again, that made me get to a place where okay, I would get the energy up, bang, do it, and then come home and feel very wasted. Like oh my god,
Yeah.
I can't live like this. So it made me seek out yoga, meditation of sorts, techniques of sorts, things of certain disciplines, other names of people, reading many, many, many books just to keep them around, and keep me somewhat centered. Breathing was always important.
Okay.
Um, when I would play live, I would do gigs with somebody like, say, Johnny Mathis or somebody. I play oboe and a lot of big solos. If I didn't learn to breathe, I would hyperventilate and I play the oboe. And he said, you need to
Yeah.
have your breath under control or you're going to really
Yeah,
get
in order to do that.
out of sync because you're very trying to read a lot of back pressure. So I would learn certain breathing techniques again for performance. So I was
Right.
doing it wasn't for necessarily just the spiritual discipline or ascending totally, but it was all part of it because it was all these
So it
wonderful.
all started to kind of collide together there at
Yeah, yeah, and the unknown
Crossroads.
became my friend. Whereas
Yeah.
in a lot of things we've spoken about, the unknown is a scary place. The unknown became a place for me to hope and draw from. Like maybe it's going to be hot, like we've said. You're playing a solo, all of a sudden it kicks in. You go, "Whoa, where's this coming from?" And you trust it, and then that
Yeah.
keeps carrying you.
Yeah.
So I've
And
had
one
those experiences.
and one thing we talked about that we both kind of connected with was that that we both, I feel like we agreed, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Mhm.
for me, and we talked about this, how the only experience that I've had in my real life of what a meditation is I can only find is from playing music.
Right,
There's been times and moments within playing music that's like an out of body experience.
right,
And that's what meditation is a lot of times. It's not always an
right.
out of body experience, but it's
No,
not
no,
always an out of body experience with music.
right,
But it's the closest thing that if I could explain it to somebody, if they
right,
could play music, then I would say it's comparable. It's not the same thing, but it is
right,
comparable in
right,
some ways. And
right,
so
right.
I definitely can see those two worlds colliding for you the way that you kind of discovered it, it sounds like. But anyway, I kind of cut you off, but I was
No,
just
no,
kind of
no. I'm
making
just
some.
free associating, but the feeling of it was that in the professional music business, I enjoyed it, but you deal with a lot of egos all of the time,
Yes, all the
and
time.
it's hard. You like it because you're accepted in a circle. It helps your reputation. I was a sought after first call studio player for a good 15-year run, and I used to see all the
Right.
greatest jazz musicians. Everybody, all my heroes would be on them. Oh, look who's here, look who's here. It was great. I would
Yeah.
never play with
No,
them
I
necessarily
could
on
totally
stage,
relate.
but I
Yes.
get to play with them on a Lay's peanut, potato chip commercial for an hour. It was great,
Potato chip.
thrilling.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, that's
but
awesome.
that
I
was
get
that was
that.
where I got to play with them. Steve
Yeah.
Gadd, players like that. Like, oh my god, it was just thrilling. And they were always very
Yeah.
supportive. So I was always
Right.
practicing, but it was always feeling a spiritual sense, not just a business sense that I could do it. You had to have a magic to your playing because you were being recorded.
Yes.
You could do
You
other
got a good
bulk
point there.
work where you didn't have to be magical. You could do weddings, play Broadway shows, and be an excellent player, but it didn't have to have magic. The magic had to
Yeah.
be that studio, like, whoa, X Factor. We captured it. So that was always drawing me and drawing me. Now, at the
Right.
experience I am now, and since I've discovered Dr. Joe, It's
Well,
turned
before you go there,
around.
how did you find Dr. Joe? Was it just a kind of a
It
journey you
was
just
like
kind of fell upon
internet
him?
stuff, a sidebar. Somebody had said his name, and all of a sudden I was like, "Oh, I heard that guy's name," and I clicked on it, and it just started something that I couldn't go back on.
Gotcha.
And he even made comments like 1% of the population could do this. I heard him say at one point, like, it's hard, but you
Yeah.
have to get into it, and it is hard. And we've spoken briefly about how some people find it so difficult that they'd rather go. My doctor said, I'll just do this, I'll just do that. But if you're
Yeah.
brave enough to pursue it, it can work for you. And you've seen it 1,000 times more than me. But now
Well,
I'm in a place I can't stop. And here, let me really make a point. I'm talking a bit, but I've enjoyed a lot of things in the music business, seen the world, but now in the last 5 months, 4 months, I don't even go on Facebook. I used to
yeah.
always go on. I have to. It's like here I am. I did a record. I got to stay current. I'm getting older. You got to stay like. I'm not even thinking about it.
Right. You
It's
don't
not
have.
even a concern. It's like
Yeah.
the switch has been thrown. Now, it isn't thrown with anger. I'm not saying, oh, that's ridiculous. It's just a different consciousness. It used to be like, oh, this is ridiculous. Look at everybody. I used to have an opinion. Now I'm
Right.
not even wasting the energy on that because of all the testimonies of people having great experiences. I'm like, I want to catch up. I want to keep
Yeah.
going. I'm looking at the future.
Right.
Okay. And
Yeah.
I'm not going backwards. A lot of musicians that I've noticed as I've gotten older, they tend to talk about the past a lot. They talk about
Yeah.
the past because they've had experiences that were beautiful and real. But the problem
Yes.
as they're getting older, it's not just that they're getting older, it's just that they can't perpetuate the experiences for a lot of reasons. The
Yes.
music business, their health, the music business has changed. They have to do it collectively.
And
A
the
lot of
people,
that
the
doesn't
older you
exist.
the older you get as a musician, the fewer musicians there are. Just because
Yeah, it's
musicians
just the
at their
nature of it.
30s drop off, they drop off of their 40s. They get
Life
smart and
changes.
realize this isn't for me.
Life
Uh,
changes. So
yes,
so
life
now
changes.
the music, meditation, the internet, use it in creative ways. We are connecting. I've never met you, but I feel I know you. And if I saw you physically, it would be like, yes, it would be the extension of this. That's how I
Yeah.
use the internet in creating music. People,
Sure.
if I'm in a recording studio, you're on the other side of the glass. It's this. I use
Yeah.
it in the same way of feeling and thinking, and it's super highly creative for me to do it. It isn't like people hated it during COVID. Oh, I hate this. I hate this. And I'm like, I thought it would catch on more because to
Yeah.
me, the fact that I can see you and it's free, I come from the generation where it was like long distance, say hello to grandma and give the phone to your sister. It's like
Yeah.
you're paying for it. So I can see you
Right.
talk, and it just makes things very easy. And I find all new ways to use it. So now, with this connection of meditation and music, I'm feeling this way to combine both of them. And we've talked about this thing of how Dr. Joe talks about energy fields. That you focus and you get your energy really. He even uses the word harmonics. He uses musical terms that things vibrate so fast that they split the harmonic. He said, and then you're in
Yeah.
these gamma rays. Everything is humming in homeostasis. It's just perfectly there. Well,
Yeah.
wow, wouldn't it be great to access that energy just in openness to creativity and allow it to come in? There's a Greek term called music majoris. It means music of the spheres. It's spheres. It comes from the heavens. There's music minoris. It's like, hey, Greg, it's my grandmother's birthday. Let's write her a song. And you say, okay, here's an intro. I
Yeah.
got something. That's music minoris. We need a
Right.
song. Music majoris is saying, I had to get out of bed last night. I woke up and I was fumbling for a pen because this song just came to me.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
that's the music
Exactly.
majoris. So, and
Yes.
I relate that to not only your musical experiences where you're talking about playing a solo and like we said that thing of being played. I've shared musicians that I've known who said they've
Yeah.
ascended
Sure.
to their
Talk
highest
talk a little
level.
bit about that. You mentioned that you learned that from Michael Brecker, and we
Yes, a
both connected
wonderful
with what he
colleague,
said there.
Michael Brecker, New York saxophone player, most virtuosic, trailblazing saxophone player of our century here. Anyway, I loved him. He was a dear friend. Um, but he got to a point where I said to him one time, I said, Michael, thank you so much for the music. The playing's unbelievable. And he grabbed my shoulders and he looked right in my eyes. He had a boyish smile. He was so charming. He looked right in my eyes. He goes, Bob, I got to tell you, I'm being honest. At this point in my life, I feel like I'm being played. But the
Yeah.
point of the story is not that he just says, I feel like I'm being played. When he said it, it's as if I didn't know it. It's as if my pineal gland went bang and it went down my whole body in the moment.
Yes. That's a
And it
deep
just,
statement right
and
there.
it was 25 years ago he told me that.
Yeah.
And it's
Wow.
more alive than ever. So it's like bang. See again, but I didn't know anything of those fields, the energy, the experience. I was just
Yeah,
feeling these things.
he wasn't being silly or facetious. He was kind of mentioning, he's
No,
just stating that, he's not doing this anymore. He's just
no,
channeling it through and
right.
connecting the other side there. So yeah, that's
What a
powerful. And
gift. What a
I
gift.
could see that playing music. I mean, I'm not able to connect like Michael Brecker does,
No, no.
but he had a special gift, and he could, as probably his biggest gift might have been to be able to connect like that.
Oh, beyond,
Um,
beyond.
yeah, but so that's kind of partly why we decided, let's try this out. We kind of did it for fun. We
Yeah,
kind of just wanted to see,
yeah,
me and Bob connected here about meditation. We both played music, and we talked about the differences and similarities between music and everything. And so we made some recordings and of us performing. They're not the highest quality. We just kind of threw
it's all
something
right.
together just for fun. It's not a representation
It's an
of what we do
experiment.
all the time. It's an
Yeah,
experiment. It's not more about the performance, but more about the experience of before meditating and after. And we want to see if
right.
anybody out there can hear any differences between the
You know what they
performance.
might pick up on, like, do you hear a difference in the attitude, the feeling, the time, the riskiness, something, just what comes to you, what might hit you. It doesn't have to be
Right.
musical.
Yeah,
Do I
exactly.
like it? Do I not like it? Was it more aggressive? Was it sweeter? Was it in a pocket? Did it feel more connected to you? Did it hit you in the chest more? I don't know.
Right.
Whatever it
Yeah,
is, it's just
that's what we
different.
looked at. And what we did was just kind of, we went in there with no thought, just go in there and just play it. We played a blues, which is very comfortable for both of us. There's not much
Yeah.
preparation for that. It's very let's go. Just count it off
Yep.
and let's go. It's very simple to get
Yep.
into. So we didn't have to prepare. We didn't think about, what are we going to do? There's the track started, we started playing, and we ended. Then we went and meditated, did a meditation, not together.
Right.
We did it separately,
Right.
but
Right.
on our own time. But then we both meditated, then we came back and recorded another track. And so those are the two tracks that we did. And
Right.
so I don't know. What do you think? Is that maybe it's time we share the
Sure. We can
tunes
do
with
that.
them, huh? So
Sure.
now I haven't told you this, Bob, but now we're
Uh-oh.
doing a blues. And Bob plays more jazz type of stuff material, and
Yeah.
I'm more of a blues type of guy. But we can both do a little bit of both, and so we compromised and did kind of a jazzy blues, just swing
Yeah.
blues, and I call it the meditation blues.
There you go.
So let me get it up here. I had it here just a second ago. So this one here is going to be. It's just only about 3 minutes, and it's a blues track. We both take solos on there. We both improvise on there, and this is before we both meditated. So it just
Right.
kind of throughout the day, we did it at some random time, and
Right.
so here we go. We're going to play it here. Let me get it going here.
Mhm.
Before, all right. Let's see if this works here. Can you hear that, Bob? Not yet. Bob, you were just showing off there, man. You were just
Yeah. Oh,
showing off
yeah.
there.
Yeah. No, no, don't listen to that. Listen to the meditated one now.
Yeah, yeah, I
But
agree.
we are free Saturday night if anybody
We are
wants to.
we are definitely free
Yeah.
available on Saturday.
Yeah.
We play any party you want to in the world.
Yeah. Beer and
We'll
fried
show up,
chicken. Yeah.
and we're gonna need a place to stay too. So
Yeah, that's it.
yeah, but we will show up and play your meditation party.
Yeah. Love it.
Uh, all right, let's see here. So that was before the meditation. We don't comment anything about it. Let's just play the other one.
All
I
right.
probably made it a little bit too long, but
Yeah.
whatever. I probably should have shortened it, but realizing that now, but that's all right though. They'll just have to get over it. So that was before meditating, and this is after meditating. Here we go. Here, going to play it now. Then we'll talk on the other side of it. So
Okay.
y'all let us know what the difference is. Very nice, Bob. Very nice playing.
Very cool. Very revealing. This is hard for me. I never listen to myself.
Yeah, I know. I try not to either, but
Yeah, it's
yeah,
just the way it is. Yeah. As long as the
it's.
check's clear, I'm like, it's cool. But then I listen to myself.
I guess I sounded all right then. If the check's
Yeah, it
clear.
was great. It was great. It
Yeah,
was
no, I
great.
hear you. It sounded good, Bob.
Yeah, man.
Well, maybe I'll go first if that's all right.
Sure.
So in case we didn't say it before, I was playing guitar on that, and Bob was playing the saxophone on it because Bob mentioned he played oboe. Bob plays. You play a lot of instruments, don't you?
Yeah, I play like 20 reed instruments and wind
Okay, so
synthesizers, all that stuff. Yeah, a lot
all
of
right,
stuff.
so you're just bragging now, man.
No, I don't
But
want to brag because I'm afraid somebody will call me to do it, and then I have to show them I can do it. That's the
yeah,
problem.
yes,
You got to, you're as good as your last read. It's like,
all right, yeah, exactly, exactly.
so
Well,
no, I'm not bragging.
I only play guitar. That's all I do.
Only he
But
played three parts. He played the bass, rhythm guitar, another guitar. Yeah, come on.
yeah, whatever. That's but anyway, so I was playing guitar on them, and for me, uh I definitely before the meditation, after hearing both of them for the first time together, before the meditation, I felt like I was struggling. I was trying to find my place, and I was just kind of dropping licks. Licks are just little licks are just
Right,
I was
yeah,
just
yeah,
dropping them in just random places, just
right.
here and there, and I just sounded bland. To be, I'm probably
Uh,
critical on myself, but I mean that's I've heard myself a lot play the guitar, and I just sounded bland on it. Just kind of just really vanilla. So, and then on the second one, I would say that man, I was in the groove. I was more in the pocket. I was
right,
more present. I was playing with the music. I was dancing
right.
with it.
That's what
I
I felt.
wasn't just inserting little licks and stuff, and I was more creative,
Right,
and it was a lot less stressful to do that second take, one
right,
after the meditation.
right,
The first
right,
one, I was like, God, I started it over. I was
right,
frustrated.
right,
I was
right,
trying to make something happen. And as I told
right,
you, Bob, I said, let's just don't try to think, just get in there. Let's just
right,
do it and just do one take and we're out.
right.
And you don't overthink it. Don't go back. Oh, we got to fix that part. Let's just do it
Right,
all
right, right,
again.
right,
And
right.
so that second take, it was more present, if I could use that word. It
Sure.
was more. I felt like I was dancing with the rest of the music. I was a part of it as opposed to it being separate.
Right,
Before, it was like here's the music being played, and I was just over here doing my own thing, just kind of poking at it.
right.
And,
Perfect.
but yeah, I felt more creative, and I felt like that's myself. Uh, it was more effortless. It was more enjoyable. It's more enjoyable for
Yeah,
me to
yeah,
listen. It's
yeah,
less
yeah.
stressful. Maybe they'll see it on the video cameras. Maybe smile a little bit more. Like, okay, that's a little better. I could deal with that, as opposed to the other one. It's not so
Right.
embarrassing.
Oh
But
no.
that was my take on it. And for you, my take on you's. I thought it was very similar. You started playing on both tracks. You kind of interplayed with me because I recorded first and then you played
Right,
afterward, and so you were kind of interplaying with me, and the interplay of what you were doing was better on the second part. It was
I think.
more. It was more complimentary as opposed to before you were trying to match up with what I
Right,
was doing, which
right.
I don't want to say that's bad, but it was just a
No,
different
no, no.
thing. It sounded like you were trying to force that in. And the other
Right,
way was just you went, oh, I'm just going to respond to that and just
right,
blend it in together. So,
right,
and I
right.
thought you were definitely a lot more creative. And both of our tones were better for some reason on the same.
Absolutely. The tone. Absolutely.
Oh,
There's the
so
four T's. They call it the four T's: time, touch, tone, and timbre. Those are the things that really communicate an essence of a player. A great,
all right,
you
so
know.
that's what they do. That's what they say up in New York. Let me tell you what they say. The time,
Ah,
tone, down here in South Carolina, we
yeah,
simplify things. There's only three things we worry
yeah.
about here down here. It's time, tone, and then space.
That's it.
And
Good.
and
Same
that's what we
thing.
work. So,
That's it.
but yeah, y'all up in New York, you got to make everything complicated. But that's what we say down here. That's what a handful of people say. I've been saying for
It's
years:
fun.
time, tone, and space. But
Yeah.
so anyway, what are your thoughts about the two takes there? Your honest opinion,
Oh
not
yeah.
what I was influenced by what I said.
Okay. Well, I appreciate this because no one would ever ask me this. So it really does put me in a place to be brutally honest with you and myself. Okay. The
Yeah.
first take, I'm like, my ego was going, oh my God, just he thinks I can play. I got to make sure I can play something that he knows I can play. So I'm
I wouldn't
playing,
worry
and then
about
I would stop. I said, "No, stop! Don't do it again. No, no." And my brain was getting very involved. Like, well, if I don't want to just come in playing a solo. I want to play along a little with him. Oh, but I don't want to offend him. Oh my God! So it created all this drama in my brain, and then I did relax enough to say, "All right, do this as a gig. You know, get in there, play. I think that was cool. Okay, blah blah blah." Did the first one, done, but it had a very
it. Yeah.
conscious feeling,
Right.
appropriate in a sense of professional. Like I'm doing it, I'm not going to play wrong notes per se. That and if
Right.
you were a
Yeah.
client, you'd say, "Yeah, I'll give you the job. Yeah, Saturday night, show up. You got the job."
Right. Yeah.
Like it was acceptable. Whereas the second one, I was like, "Uh oh." Go ahead, Bob, meditate. And you have chops meditating. Like, because I meditated for 20 minutes, but very deeply. I really got the breath going. And I got really deep. And then another video after I had done the recording, you were saying, "Well, I meditate for 3 hours a day." And I'm like, "Oh, he's in another league." And then I got
I
real
know.
insecure. No, again, it's
You,
like, does it matter? But again, the ego attaches to different
you
things.
got in your head on it. You got in your
Yeah.
head on it.
So
Thinking,
then when
yeah.
I did the 20 minutes, I was a very deep 20. So I said, "Stop it. Here we go. You got to step up to the plate." But it
Yeah.
wasn't the same plate as when I just have to nail something. It was, he's going to know if I don't reveal myself. So you just reveal yourself, surrender, surrender, and just go with the experience. So in that
Wow.
sense, I didn't listen to myself. I recorded it, stopped it, and I said, "Please, if I listen, I might start to say, oh, I should change this or change that." So I tried to leave it for a while. And then I just
Yeah.
did a rough mix. I said, let me just send it to him because maybe he'll
Yeah.
hate it. Maybe he'll do something else. Maybe I'm off. And we
Right.
didn't talk right away. And I'm going, oh God, he must hate it. All this stuff. Again, that's
No, man.
no,
Come
but
on.
that stuff surfaces. But again, that's like in the meditation when you are in a process and then you think and you stop it.
Right.
It
Yeah.
stops the
Yeah. No,
flow. So
you
it's
were
the
getting in
same
your
thing.
head
But
again.
it's very challenging music, and I think it's no. I don't think, I tended to always think musicians were always the special people, and yes, any artist, we revere them, and it's great. But through the work of Dr. Joe, what I'm understanding is that everyone has this divine thing, this divine
Yes.
quality. That yes, if we do it with music, that's wonderful, but
Yeah.
do it with your kids. Do it as a teacher, do it as the baker, do it as the banker. It's another level of thinking that you can
Yeah.
bring it to anything you do. And
Yeah.
that's really the point. We're talking about music and excessively today because we're musicians, and I hope people are
Right.
extracting what
Yeah.
they need from it. But it's in
Right.
that
Yeah.
sense, it's about them. But whatever it is you do, you can change the dimension with how you're viewing and experiencing what you do, rather than being in
Yes.
a pattern. You and I, we could play and we could play asleep, and we could play blues patterns and play and be acceptable because it's so ingrained in our body. And
Right.
there's the body thing again, where it's like the body is now controlling the mind. The
Right.
body's
Yeah.
playing those repetitions you've done 1,000 times. But the magic is when you can take all what the body knows and now allow the mind to draw that to a new place. And maybe we get to the field, they call it, or in
Right.
music, or in athletes call it the zone. We get
Right.
into that
Yeah.
space. So these are all terms that are all interchangeable, and we've heard them in all different ways, but now it's culminating that everybody can be using this information. It isn't we have to just go buy the ticket and applaud the guy on the stage. The guy on the stage is really applauding you now because
Yeah.
we want to bring it out in you with the music. It's like the paradigm has changed. It's not what can you give me, it's what can I give, period.
Yeah. Right.
What can I give?
Yes.
Whereas in the past, musician plays, an artist, somebody would clap, throw them flowers, money. Oh, you're great. Thank you, thank you, thank you. It's an egoic posture, and they deserve it. But
Right.
it's more. It's morphed. It's changed. It's the
Right.
new
Yes.
world. We're in a
Yeah.
transformation. It should change. And it's a
Exactly.
beautiful
Yes.
time in that sense. It's a beautiful time. And being in this energy field, like I said before, I found a little piece of it by doing what I do. And I've been making a living, not having a job, and I have no competition. I did it
Yeah.
nice yesterday. I work today. I just flow. The energy field, it comes towards me. It isn't all, and
Yeah.
like the social media, I disconnected. and it's still coming towards me. I'm
Right.
talking to
Yeah.
you, spending time. You came towards me. I meditated you
Right.
guys last night. I never did. So it's interesting how detaching from familiar patterns that you do in your life all of a sudden give you the field of the unknown of new things that you haven't experienced. And that's
Yes.
I feel so I'm available. It's not that I'm
And,
saying Facebook is bad. This that I'm just leaving space now for something new.
and then what what you just said that I just resonated with. You were saying detach from your thoughts, and I think that when we did that, take the before the meditation,
Mm.
we were both trying to be somebody in our past.
Yes, absolutely.
And when we meditated, we were more so in the present moment and
Yeah.
didn't care. We got out of ourselves. We didn't care.
Right.
We got over ourselves. And we were, because I had frustrations in that first take, and you mentioned that you did too, of going, I mean, it's not hard. We can play blues all
No, it
day
wasn't
long. But,
about that. But you're either in the
but
pocket or you're
and
not.
it's not like I don't think either one of us really stressed out about doing it. But
No,
if
no,
we
no,
had to
no.
pick one,
Definitely.
that opening take, that first take was definitely more, it shouldn't have been that hard on myself
Right.
about doing it,
Right.
because I
Right.
was trying to live up to something that I'd done in the past, and we were living in
Right.
the past on. And I think that's why musicians have known to be doing drugs for a long time.
Absolutely.
It's not new news to know of that. In any
Right.
style of music, there's drugs.
Right. Absolutely.
So, and I think part of it is if not maybe a lot of it, but even some of the biggest names that have really changed the trajectory of music were on
Absolutely.
drugs, and
Absolutely.
I would say that most of those people, that the reason why they were on drugs is probably because of multiple reasons. But when they were up on stage, they saw, like a Charlie Parker or a John Coltrane, they could do
Yes.
those particular types of drugs, and they could get outside of their head, and they could
Yeah.
connect like we did with meditation.
Yes.
And so and they can get out of the way of themselves, and they can be
Right.
free to have all these creative ideas. We were a lot more creative. We got out of the way of ourselves after we
Right.
meditated, and we
Right.
were able
Right.
to create more, and it be more acceptable and more pleasant, at least by our standards. Maybe no one
Right.
else out there may not see the difference. I'm sure they will, but
Right. Right.
it's but that's why I think a lot of people in the music business have done drugs.
Absolutely.
You get up on stage, you got 10,000 people watching you. You get inside of your head a little bit. How are you supposed to
Right.
perform, even if you are good?
Right.
I mean, I've played for my whole life, but there's sometimes I get up on stage and, like I
Like,
said,
oh
you got
boy.
the 10 people with the money looking at you going, what are you
That's
going to do?
right.
Like,
Right.
oh man,
Yeah. That's what
right
I'm like.
now,
Yep. I'm like, they're
like
gonna figure me out.
I
Uh-oh.
can do it. I can do it, and I have no problem with it. But it alters you that much to where it affects your performance this much.
Right.
That slight altering, and it's an overall thing, because there's subtle details within the music world that just, in my opinion, that separates the boys from the men. I mean, it's just those
Yeah.
small details, and those. So when you get in your head like that, I feel like those small details get turned down, and it gets
Right.
overlooked sometimes.
Right.
And that
Right.
you suffer from that in some ways. So
Right.
anyway,
Right.
that's my take on what I think
Yeah.
why a lot of musicians have done drugs. I'm not condoning doing drugs. I'm actually trying to say, instead of doing drugs, why don't you guys meditate?
Well, I
Uh,
think what the point you're making, which is a very good one, and I don't want to be insulting to a musician. I mean it with certain generosity here, but a lot of musicians escape growing up. They escape certain levels of maturing because they have a talent and they get recognition and they get out there and they get so much attention and people are very nice to them and they open doors for them and life becomes a little bit easier and then it
yeah,
builds their ego, but they might have some maladjustment with personal challenges in their personal growth because they
right.
have,
Yeah,
somebody doesn't say
they didn't
no
learn
to
certain
them.
skills. You're
They
right. They
don't
didn't
say
learn certain
no.
skills. Right.
They don't have to
Yeah.
work through things in a sense because they're treated royally in a lot of cases. I've seen play.
And,
My
and that's
God.
not and that's not even somebody that's famous. Even somebody on a local
Yeah,
level
absolutely.
can walk around as if, be treated as if they were kind of a famous person. I've
Yes.
recognized that. You just go
Yes.
play in your neighborhood at all the clubs, and everybody loves you. You
Sure.
walk in, they give you free drinks, they eat for
Right.
free. And,
Exactly. Yeah.
hey, come on
Yeah.
back later on. We'll do it again. Hey, we love you.
Right.
Come on, sit down. Who
Right.
are these
Right. Of
people? I don't
course.
know who they are, but they
Right.
like me. I don't know.
Right.
And
Right.
so
Right.
you can get that. It's not just for people that are famous. It's
Right.
for even
So then,
the
if
local.
you do wind up wanting to sustain an ego posture, or you're doing drugs or things like that, without anything to really fill that void in a healthy way, it's going to crash at some point. Now,
Yeah,
like I said, in the aging process, you see a lot of musicians at a point. Now, I have a lot of friends. We're sidemen. We're not stars. Our name is not on the billboard.
you
So,
typically
guys,
support the big
yeah,
artists.
other guys who have a big name. Bruce Springsteen is going to sing until he's 80 or whatever and be great. But I mean, a sideman in the band, no matter how good you are, there becomes a number of there's an expiration date in the way the world works. Now, if
Yeah,
you have your spiritual energy and a vision of where you're going, you can sustain that. I mean, if you know the piano player Bob James, he's whoever would know him, he's 83. He's 20.
yeah,
He's burning. He's
yeah,
traveling. I know him a little bit. He was a big inspiration to me. But like, wow, he's one in a million. He's
yeah.
83, and it's like he's like happy and forward. He's a forward thinker. He also has a spiritual base to his life. I haven't explored it personally, but I'm very aware of it in who he is.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm interested in seeing how musicians can age and use these meditation techniques to stay psychologically healthy, physically and mentally healthy. That's
Yeah.
important. It's not just the music you make, it's how you're going about living with joy. Dizzy Gillespie said one thing that I learned because I studied with this guy for 30 years. I was in his bands. This guy, Mike Long, was a piano player with Dizzy Gillespie. He says, Dizzy woke up every morning and he says, I choose joy. That's all he would say.
Yeah.
I choose joy. Now let's
Just
go
that
into the
alone
day.
itself. Yeah.
Now let's go into the day. I choose joy first, and that's it. Now, whatever's going to happen, happens. Now,
Right.
if we choose joy, take my life to wherever it's taking me, and music is part of that joy. It's the ascension, it's the unknown, and it's all these things that meditation can join. So, the thing of
Yeah.
addiction could be a very powerful resource meditation can be a resource for people who have addictive qualities to look at it from
Right.
a different perspective rather than
Right.
resistance, stop, don't, change your thinking. It's the acceptance in the moment. Like Dr. Joe says, energy is immediate.
Yeah.
Matter takes a long time. Like, okay, I won't have a drink. I won't eat the chocolate cake.
Right. Yeah.
But energy can just go choice, and you've made the choice and turned the page. It can be that simple.
Right.
It
No,
can be.
it is that simple, but
It
we
is. I
don't
mean,
make
you've
it that
seen it.
simple. Yeah.
I'm saying
Yeah.
it by what you've been there. But
Well, but I
wow.
mean, I'm not saying that, I've seen it, you've seen it too. That's why you
Yes,
just said
yes.
it.
Yeah.
And so you've experienced that too. I think everybody has in their life at some
Yeah.
point, but for
Yeah.
some reason we make it hard on ourselves and we
Yeah.
rely on something else to help us out with overcoming, or just we make it harder on ourselves for some reason. We don't
But
believe that.
I think you'll agree that, and this freaks me out all the time. And I won't get so into Zen, but we live in such a dualistic thinking. Um, like we're going along, life is life. But when I meditate, sometimes I get into these wonderful places where you could give me $1 million. You could say, "Here's a ticket to go have a wonderful meal or something for free." It wouldn't matter. Nothing matters at that point. I'm in a state of not want. I'm not in a state
Right.
of lack. I feel completely satisfied. I feel whole. I don't want. So now, when I'm in that space, the complete perspective of the world changes. The aggression, the drive, the want, the holding, the big house, the car, this, that, the Botox, anything. I don't. I'm nobody, nowhere, no time, no, nothing. And I
Yeah.
feel more whole. Now, when you stay there, you go, okay, I have it. I'm there. I got it. Just like when you played that solo that you said, this is the best they ever played. And you felt it and it's there. I got it. And then you
Yeah.
put the guitar in the case and you go, uh-oh, because it leaves. It comes and visits and leaves. You don't own it. We're so used to putting something on a floppy disk. I have it on a hard drive. It's mine. It's mine. Possession, ownership.
Right. Yes.
The metaphysical world doesn't care about any of that. It doesn't care about
No.
your
No.
personality. It doesn't care about your attachment to your ego. It doesn't care about your name. It
Yeah.
doesn't care about your
It could care
age. It
less.
doesn't care about any of this. So to get in touch with those things make me truly enjoy getting older now. Whereas a lot of my
Yeah.
friends are grouchy about getting older. All the gigs
Yeah.
were
I know.
back then. It's getting grim. I'm this, her, that. Oh no, I'm looking forward to whatever the experience is because my thinking is charged in a very healthy way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've noticed that too, that the older musicians are grouchy and grumpy. And I think
Yeah,
they want things to be like they were 30 years ago
yeah,
because they were
yeah.
hot shots and they haven't changed. They're being stubborn and they're not
Mhm.
willing to change. And um, and they just need to be more acceptable of
Yeah.
what's going on. And so
Mhm.
I think, as we've been going on an hour, but
Yeah,
I guess that in conclusion, uh, I would say that for the simple scientific study that we did on those
yeah,
recordings, uh,
yeah.
I would say in conclusion that meditation definitely makes a big difference when it comes to music. And that's something that can be shown how meditation is effective. That's why we wanted to try doing this. And
Yes.
some people may hear it and some people may not. But if you can't hear it in the music, then just take our word for it because we've been doing it for a
Right.
long time. That is a better experience. That's a better take. That's a better in a lot of different ways. One we're extremely happy with, and the other one not upset with, but just
No, no, no. Absolutely.
if I had to pick, it wouldn't take long to pick that second take after meditating. I say, yeah,
Right.
let's just use that one
Yeah,
instead.
exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
and with if I didn't know which one was which, and
Right,
so
right.
it definitely shows that meditation has benefited music for me, and I know it has for you, and
Absolutely.
all the more reason why there's no reason why it can't benefit anything in a comparable way in your life, even if you don't play music.
Right,
You know,
right,
so
right.
that's why I thought it'd be interesting to kind of do this, but
No, I appreciate it. It was good.
yeah.
It made me
Well,
think differently. And that's
yeah.
the point. Like
Was it?
differently than I would ever have to, because you said, let's do this. And you kept persisting. And I was insecure and out of my comfort zone. And that was good. So bravo. I applaud you for putting me in that place. And like I told you, it benefited me because if I have weaknesses, I know how to overcome them. Just like if
Yeah,
you see a piece of music and you go, I can't really play that, you're going to come up with something else. You say, hey, bro,
yeah,
I'm not sure if I like it. What about this? Okay,
yeah,
come on, we got to go. We got to do the game. So you can overcome certain things with other abilities you have. You put it right on me. Like,
yeah, yeah.
don't be Mr. Slick. It's not going to, that's not what we're going for. You would hear it. You would have perceived, like, oh, yeah, he's playing all his stuff.
Right.
He's not
Yes,
playing from
exactly.
here. He's not playing from
It,
here. And
yeah,
here doesn't
that's
mean gushing. Playing from the heart does not mean gushing.
does not mean
Playing
that
from the heart
everybody's
means
trying.
a flow of a connection in real time, which is part of your
That,
breath.
that
And
that's another thing is the first take it was all from right here, both of ours, and
yeah,
then the second take was both of ours was from right here, and
yeah,
that's where every musician's always trying to get to. We've been talking
yeah,
about play. You hear it you hear it in boxers, like man, he's got heart. I mean,
yes,
he doesn't have a lot of skill, but he's got a lot
right,
of heart. Where that goes along,
right,
that's a bigger quality to have
right,
most of the time. So
right, right,
over
right,
skill and ability most of the
right,
time. So and that's how blues is. There's not much. Skill or ability in blues. There's not a lot of education,
right,
and there's a lot of education within jazz. I mean, it's a whole. They have
right.
you get a doctor's degree in jazz, but in
Yeah,
blues, you just have to drink a pint of liquor and
that's
you're
right.
good. That's how you learn how to play blues.
Yeah,
So it's a
that's right.
very two separate. One's
Very
very educated and one's not educated. But I do think the
right.
blues masters and the jazz masters they are ultimately doing the
Absolutely.
same thing. It's just going about it a different way.
Very
One's
well
very
said. Perfectly
and
said.
so BB King's doing the same thing. Charlie Parr,
Yes.
John Coltrane
Absolutely.
was doing, and
Right.
they're all playing from the heart, and you're hearing that
Right.
person from their heart, and that's what most
Right.
people want to hear. That's what people get attracted to
Right.
in real life when you go out on
Right.
a date with somebody.
That's right.
You don't want to go out with somebody and they're you can tell when they're trying to be somebody else they're
Oh,
not. But when
completely.
they're true to
Right.
themselves, whether you really care for it or not, you just
Right.
magnetate towards
That's right.
to it.
Beautifully said. Good.
And so
Good. Good.
that's some differences, but ultimately that's where everybody's trying to get. And I think meditation can help get you to that place.
So here, let me
Anyway,
leave you with just one thought that I like because I picked it up and it's how energy makes you do things. But I haven't looked at this book in 30 years, and my something told me to go to my library yesterday, and I pulled out a Carl Jung book. The
Carl
philosopher.
Jung. Okay.
So anyway, he had this one saying that hit me, and I just want to share it. He says, "One who looks outside dreams. One who looks inside awakes." And that's pretty much the whole synopsis of it all.
Yes, I like that, Bob. That's
Dreams
good.
are fun. Dreams are wonderful. I have friends who are
Yes,
dreamers all their life because to actually try to do it is so scary because they could fail. But
yes,
instead of thinking of failure, awake. Just
yes.
become awake. Because
I
if you're
like that,
awake,
Bob.
you'll never fail if you're awake.
No, 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 you
Even
won't.
if you don't accomplish what you want to do, you'll never fail if you're awake. If that
That's
makes
right. But
sense. It almost sounds like
Carl
a
Jung.
contradiction, but it's
Yeah,
not.
you're right. It's not. No, no. I like that. That's a good saying. I'm gonna have to write that down and remember that. So,
Yeah.
well, Bob, thanks for playing along. You sounded great on the saxophone.
Let's do it
What I'm gonna
again.
do
Let's
is
play music again.
you've got a YouTube channel, don't you?
I
And
do. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of
what I'll
stuff.
do is in the description of this video, I'll put a little link if you want me to your
Absolutely. If
channel and
anybody
put
has any
some links on
questions or
there.
musicians that want to reach out, you could leave my email address or whatever as well. It'd be fun to
Yeah,
see what feedback and what people suggest too, because this
yeah,
is
and same here.
an
So,
experiment.
yeah, if you whatever you want to leave me, I'll put in the description below so people could
Sure.
reach out to you if they whatever, or they just want to check out some of your music I know you've got some on
Okay.
your YouTube channel.
Sure.
So,
Sure. A lot.
uh, all right,
Good.
so I guess that'll wrap it up this time. But we should do this again. We maybe we could get together in person and have a little more put
That would be
together
great.
performance, than just
Yes.
something kind of handed over the internet. So,
Yes. That's
um,
fine.
well, Bob,
Well,
thanks for
thank you. I'm
joining.
grateful to meet you. It's amazing what's been happening, and thank you for reaching out and coming towards me. It's very flattering, and I'm enjoying it very much. And we'll see just
Absolutely.
whatever comes of it. It's supposed to, but I'm enjoying this time, and you've been very supportive to me, and I really do appreciate that. So
Yeah, absolutely. And the last thing is, if you could like this video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Thanks for coming
wonderful.
out, and thanks, Bob,
Sure.
for
You're
showing up
welcome.
here from New York. All
Absolutely.
right.
Ciao.